Hey guys, welcome to Priceless B Movies. I'm your host, Colin Price. Man, you know what? After watching these two movies, I'm so glad we live in the world of cell phones, you know, and we don't have landlines to deal with anymore, because honestly I'm kind of spooked at the idea of going near a landline anymore. 976 Evil 2. 976 Evil 2 is obviously the sequel to 976 Evil, a movie I reviewed a couple days ago. The first one was directed by Robert Englund. This sequel is directed by Jim Wynorski, and it follows Spike, played by Patrick O'Brien, who's the brother of Stephen Jeffries' character in the first movie. And basically now, after the first movie is over and done with, he's trying to hit the road. He's trying to put all that nonsense behind him and move on with his life. And he ends up in this California town where a couple of people have died, and it more or less... Well, there isn't really a mystery to this, because they tell you in the first few minutes of the movie. The person killing them is this dean at the local school, and he's using astral projection to commit these murders, and Spike decides that it's got to be tied to the horoscope line in the first film. There's definitely some differences between this film and the first one. The first one takes a lot of time kind of setting up how the ghouls or demons, whatever it is on the other side of this line that possesses people, you know, it kind of sets up kind of why this geek in this movie decides, you know, that he's going to go along with it, and kind of his transformation into this monster. And in this movie, the killer, the dean, he's basically already hooked into this thing from the get-go. So it is kind of more the supernatural slasher movie all the way through than the first one was. And honestly, I'm totally cool with that. And why am I totally cool with it? I'm totally cool with it because it means that unlike the first movie, right here from the get-go, we get a bloody death right from the start. And then this movie just keeps going. It keeps going, death after death after gag, and it's a lot of fun. It's actually a little more fun than the first movie in the terms that there's so much more going on. It grabs your interest right away, whereas the first movie kind of took a little bit because they had to build stuff up. I guess you could argue that a lot of sequels are that way, but you know, I just kind of, it's a nice change of pace. It's a nice change of pace because whereas the first movie I made the complaint that, you know, the sense of dread and the horror sometimes clashes with the humor because you kind of sympathize with the characters. Here there's none of that. The bad guy is the bad guy. The good guy is the good guy. And you just have fun with it from beginning to end. The acting is pretty fair all around in 976 Evil 2. O'Brien is a little bit better in this one than I think he was in the first one. And, you know, the rest of the cast, they're just kind of there. I mean, they're good, they're all decent, but there aren't really any standouts. What does get fun is when you get some of the cameos in this film. You get a nice bit part from George Buckflower, who's kind of a veteran of these kinds of movies, and also even Bridget Nielsen shows up in one scene, kind of out of nowhere, but it's fun to see her in something like this. I really like this sequel. You know, there aren't many sequels that I like as much as the first one, but this is definitely one of them. The only thing that I think is kind of, you know, a weakness with this film is that, you know, the plot kind of streamlines. There aren't too many surprises. Most of the surprises and most of the good gags are in the kills themselves, which I'm not going to give away, but I will say I love the deaths in this movie. There isn't one that's dull. And there's one really great one that's got to be possibly the best reference to It's a Wonderful Life that I've ever seen in another movie. I really like 976 Evil 2. It's one of those rare movies that I do think is just as good as the first one. And it's kind of upsetting to me. I know the first one's out on DVD, and I think the first one might even be on Blu-ray. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that. But I think that especially if it is, they really need to put this one on Blu-ray too. This is one of those great movies that unfortunately not a lot of people know about. You kind of have to be a horror geek like me to be fully aware of 976 Evil or its sequel. But I do think that this one deserves more attention than it gets, especially when the first one is much better known. 976 Evil 2 gets 3 stars. This movie is a lot of fun, just like the first one, but albeit for slightly different reasons. I think you can watch these two back to back and have a really good time with both of them, but I think you'll kind of like different things about them. I think that if you appreciate the first one for being slow and being kind of paced more like a thriller, then when you get to this one and it's just kind of balls out wacky, you know, it just kind of steps it up a bit. And it is a lot of fun, like I said, to just watch these two one after the other. So that's my review for 976 Evil 2. Stay tuned, I got a lot more of these reviews coming. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Priceless B Movies.